and welcome to Hollywood Approved with Yael and Kristen. Each episode is an exploration of taste as we dive into the good, the bad, and the unexpected in TV and movies. Tune in for the celebrity guests and stay for the surprising recommendations. Plus, we're getting creative with modernizations and fan casting some of our favorites. This is Hollywood Approved. Yay!
I love that little jingle.
Me too. Welcome. We don't have a guest today, but that's okay because we still have a lot to talk about, right, Kristen?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so why don't we jump in with our weekly questions?
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, our first one. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. So our first question is, Yael, what is the last thing that you watched?
The last thing that I watched was actually Leverage Redemption on IMDb TV. I have been binging it repeatedly because I am a big fan of the original Leverage, but also I'm doing the after show. But it really just is like one of my favorites. And it's just such a good show. And for people who don't know it, it's about this like high-tech group of thieves and con artists and hackers, and they help people. So they were bad guys and now they're good guys. And in this reboot or sequel series, they come together to help someone who thought that he was kind of doing good or being neutral, but actually was doing bad. And now he has to redeem himself. That's why it's Leverage Redemption.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Have you ever seen any Leverage?
I have not, but I know this is a reboot, correct?
Yes, it's a sequel series. I like to call it 2.0.
2.0. Okay. Very nice. It sounds great. So I definitely need to check it out. What channel is it on again?
It is on IMDb TV, which is actually just Amazon with commercials. So if you have Amazon Prime, you have it. Or you can get the IMDb TV app, but you don't need to. Kristen, what about you? What is the last thing you watched?
One of the last things I was watching was the new American Horror Stories, which is confusing but different from American Horror Story. So American Horror Story, it's seasonal anthologies. This is episodic anthologies, kind of like Goosebumps or what are some? I can't even. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Things like that, where it's like each episode is a different story. And so it's dropping weekly on Hulu. So that's the only place you can watch it. It's not on regular TV like American Horror Story normally is. And they're bringing back like classic stories that we know about, but doing like new twists on them. So as you saw, there was instead of a rubber man, that rubber woman is in this first like 2-episode arc. And they're back in Murder House. So that's always fun because they have so many like fun little Easter eggs to the first season of American Horror Story, referencing, the little kids that had died in the house, or the guy in the first season that was like the therapist, and the story was like around his family. Now he's like a ghost mentioned and stuff. And it's an LGBTQ plus story, this arc. And I'm just, it definitely went there. And so I'm curious to see what they're going to do each week. And, what other kind of references we'll get to, past American Horror Story seasons and storylines. So
that's so interesting. You compared it to Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, which I feel like those are kids' horror shows.
So an adult version of that, just in the idea of, episodic horror, not a season-long horror story. But yes.
I mean, speaking of adult creepy, the other thing that I last watched, which is a weird thing to say, because I was watching Leverage and then I did watch a movie last night, and it was this movie it's not horror, but there is like discomfort, and there is like it's scary in the realness of it. And it was called Sugar Daddy, and it's available on Amazon. So if you want to check that out, go for it. It stars Kelly McCormick, who you probably know from Killjoys, and a bunch of other Canadians. Because I love me some Canadian stuff.
Yes, same. If it's like made in Canada, has Canadians in it, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. If you're watching us live now, let us know in the comments what the last thing you watched. We would love to hear about it. But we'll move on to our next question. What is a show or movie that you just discovered, Kristen?
Schmigadoon! So Schmigadoon stars Cecily Strong and Keegan-Michael Key, and then like a whole slew of incredible Broadway actors from Aaron Tveit to Kristen Chenoweth to Ariana DeBose, Dove Cameron, and basically the concept is that these two people in a relationship go on a backpacking trip to try to like reinvigorate their relationship. And instead they end up discovering this like magical town that's basically a 1940s musical, and they can't leave until they find true love. And so like if you're a big fan of musicals, if you love that like, 1940s vibe, but with a like parody element, like it feels very B, the songs remind of like Oklahoma and like The Music Man, but with a funny twist, then you'll probably really enjoy this. I'm a big musical theater nerd, so this was right up my alley. And this is another one that's dropping weekly episodes on Apple TV Plus. So
yeah, that one's also from Cinco Paul, who is best known for the Despicable Me movies, but I know him actually from improv. He is an incredible improviser and musical improviser. So like he's in charge of the music on this. It is incredible. And so, yeah, Schmigadoon is a really good one. I just discovered something you may know about me is I love sci-fi, that's fantasy, witchcraft. That's my jam. So I just discovered a Disney show that I found on Disney Plus called The Owl House. It is about this human named Luz who somehow wanders into the demon realm and starts training to become a witch. And it's this really beautiful cartoon. It's for kids, but I am obsessed. And it's really just like beautiful. And she's a queer Latina, and the voice of the owl lady is Wendy Malick, I believe is her name, who's like so funny. And I can't imagine her choosing to do a cartoon, but she's so perfect. It's just a really amazing show. So if you like witchcraft, I highly recommend it. And if you like queer stories, it's really cute. And like, yeah, it's obvious because it's for kids and it's on Disney, but like, it's so good.
Oh, that's awesome. I have to check it out. I saw the first episode, but I didn't keep up. So maybe I need to. Is this still the first season, or have they already moved on to the second season?
So the first season is on Disney Plus. I believe the second season, they're dropping 5 episodes of the second season, I think today on Disney Plus.
Oh.
And then they're going to finish the second season, and it technically got canceled. It's getting a third, like, I think it's 40-minute episodes for the third season instead. It unfortunately is coming to an end, but it's really good. And I'm not usually into kid stuff.
All right, so let's go on to our next question. What is your go-to comfort show or movie?
Okay, so I'll start because this is the most obvious thing if you know me or have seen my Twitter ever. My go-to comfort when I'm sad or sick or hungry or any emotion is Law and Order Special Victims Unit, the greatest show of all time. That is the full title.
Yes.
Full title. It's been on for 22 seasons. So really, and it's a procedural. So you can pick any episode at any point and just jump in and you'll know exactly who everyone is. Although after season 14, they did start to like connect some stuff, but you don't have to have watched a single other episode to jump in to Law and Order Special Victims Unit, greatest show of all time. And I don't know why, but it makes me feel better.
I remember just like there would be just marathons on when I was in college, and you would just like sit there, everybody in the dorms just like watching it.
Yeah.
Just because. Why not?
That's what it's like in my house. Just any time of day there's a marathon on in my house.
Yes.
So what about you? What is your comfort show or movie?
My go-to comfort show or movie is Ugly Betty with America Ferrera. I love this show so much. I mean, first of all, there's just so much history behind it because this is like a show that has literally been adapted into so many different, international like adaptations. Like around the world, everyone knows Ugly Betty in some way, shape, or form. But it originally came about from the Colombian telenovela Yo Soy Betty La Fea, and I loved the American version because America Ferrara is just such a relatable actress. She's so good at what she does because in this show in particular, compared to some of the other adaptations, I really loved that Betty never just like got a makeover and got hot. It was like over time she grew as a person and maybe like, got a better outfit or, learned how to do her hair or got her braces off or got nicer glasses. But it was never like, we're going to completely make over and change this character. It was just, you could like see her growing over time. And you really got to know her family and the people that she worked with. And even the people that were like the villains, like Wilhelmina Slater or her assistant, like at some point it like went beyond that and like they were just a family. And this is a show that like I don't usually watch shows multiple times, but I think I've watched Ugly Betty like 4 times all the way through already, just because it's so good. It has that like fun telenovela vibe to it. You never know what's going to happen. Like there's always these crazy storylines, but at the heart of it, it's just, Betty and her family and her friends like making it through. And I just really loved that.
That's amazing. I saw episodes of Ugly Betty here and there. I never really watched it, but my friend and I were looking for a show to binge together, and we were like, maybe Ugly Betty. And I think you've just sold me on it.
Yes, it's so good. It's just fun,
Yeah, it seems fun. All right. Our last question is, what is the most surprising show you love?
Should I go first?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. The most surprising show that I love is The OA, which unfortunately was canceled too soon. The first time that I watched that show, I was like, is this genius or is this really dumb? I'm not sure. And then when the second season was coming out, I was like, you know what? Let me start over again because there was a lot going on here. Let me try it again. This is probably the only show in the world that I would ever recommend. Read the entire Wikipedia page, then watch the show, because I think it makes more sense that way. But it's one of those shows that everything is like piecing together these clues and these near-death experiences and like other dimensions. And I'm not like huge on, I guess, sci-fi fantasy in certain aspects. Like, I guess it depends on what it is. But like, I'm not really into like stuff in space or, like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. But The OA is like just so brilliantly done that it like, I'm so upset that they canceled it because it ended in the craziest place that I can't even express to you like how much people need to watch this show. And I would love for it to live on in some way, whether like they write a book or, make some comics or something, because it was just so insane. And it was so upsetting that they canceled it. It was so good. In fact, like my fiance doesn't like sit and watch shows that often, but he put it on and watched the whole two seasons through Sunday through Monday and skipped work to finish watching it. Like, that's how much he enjoyed it. And I was like, victory, like that someone else like felt the same way, that like the show was so incredible. Yeah, it was just the details that went into everything. Like, you can watch it a million times and still find like new things in there that you're like, oh my God, that connects to something in the first season. And oh my God, did you ever watch it?
I watched the first season, and I was like into it. It was weird. Mm-hmm. And then when the second season came out, I was like, oh, I'll get to it. And I just never did. And then it got canceled. So I'm hearing you say that I need to watch
telling you, like, I like am shaking with anger that they canceled it, because the end, I like gasped out loud when it like all happened. I was just like,
it's funny because I think that's how I felt at the end of the first season when like the thing happens.
Yeah.
I was like,
it gets crazier.
Okay. Cause I remember thinking like, how did we get from a show about like near-death experiences and whatever, and then the kidnapping, like all of it. How did you get from that to what happened at the school? I was like very confused. But yes, interesting. So my show that is most surprising that I love is Ginny and Georgia, because I am a sci-fi person. I am really like sci-fi, fantasy, witches. Ginny and Georgia is a family drama about Ginny, the daughter, and Georgia, her mother, who is kind of not a great person, and they run away together, and it's their life, and it's teen angst, and like, I don't know why. I loved it so much. I don't relate to a single character.
It is just messy fun, you know? It is just so messy. That's like the epitome of like messy Canadian teen drama that like I kind of love.
Yeah. I like that our personal preferences are kind of opposite. So the surprise is the opposite, but like something that I would love and something you would love. That's so funny.
Yeah. I think I think really what it is though is that the core root of Canada unites us in our
absolutely. Actually, Kelly McCormick's, whose movie I was talking about, she's in Ginny and Georgia. I forgot. She's,
who was she?
She's Georgia's sister. I completely forgot she was in that.
I feel like literally, if you bring up any Canadian show, there will be someone who's like, you know, you just know from all these other Canadian shows, or they were on Degrassi, one or, you know, probably all of the above.
Right, or both.
Yeah.
All right. So usually we like to fan cast things, and we're going to do that today. So for those who missed it, July 19th, just a couple days ago, was the anniversary of the release of Clueless, which came out July 19th, 1995. So we are fan casting Clueless for the 2021 audience.
Yeah. Also, fun fact is that they're supposed to be doing a Clueless spinoff for Peacock about Dion. So, you know, who knows? Maybe some of these could like come in handy. You know, have you heard about it? How like Dion's going to step into the role of the most popular girl at school when Cher is like kidnapped or like mysteriously disappears or something?
No, that seems like something you would watch though.
It does. So maybe some of these casting choices will be helpful to people who are trying to cast this new Clueless spinoff.
I love it. All right, let's begin with our votes for Cher.
Yes.
So Cher was originally Alicia Silverstone for any youngins. Who do you have for Cher?
Okay, so for Cher, I have Brianne Sue, who you might know from Scream or Light as a Feather. And I just was going, my vibe for this new Clueless that I'm casting was like a Crazy Rich Asians like vibe. That's what I was going for. So I just feel like she would look really cute in those plaid little outfits that Cher always wore. And I always see her as kind of like the supporting best friend. And I would love to see her like take on the lead role. And I think she could do very well in that.
Absolutely. I think we both went with the like, who's usually the best friend and should be in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
May of Frozen. I'm back. I went with Beanie Feldstein. I found these pictures of her looking very stylish because I feel like Cher is fashion forward. And so I really wanted Beanie Feldstein because also when I think about Clueless and I'm thinking about that Beverly Hills style, I'm thinking of, you know, Cher Horowitz is this Jewish Beverly Hills princess. And so I thought, who could embody that for 2021? Beanie Feldstein could do it. I think she'd be good.
Yeah, and you know, I saw her in a movie recently where she definitely played like, you know, a character that was, well, this character I would say was very ambitious but a little bit selfish, and I'm like, that could maybe, you know, I could see her like starting that journey as Cher and then going on to like become a better person. You know, like I feel like that was Cher's whole journey was that like they were always like nice they were the nice popular girls, but like she did have to go on a journey of
Right.
like kind of, you know, figuring out herself and not being so like self-centered.
Absolutely. Who do you have for Dion?
Okay, for Dion, okay, I was a little bit torn. I ultimately went with Kiana Lede, who also is from Scream, and you might know as a singer. And I just think that she looks so stylish, and she's an actress, she's a singer. I could see them like adding maybe something, you know, extra to Dion's role. Maybe she's has an aspiring voice career. I don't know, but I just think that she looks so stylish and cool, and I would love to see her as Dion. My other thought was maybe Chloe Bailey. Get her to do, you know, her own thing. You know, her sister's gonna be the Little Mermaid. Maybe
I was gonna say, is that the Little Mermaid? No,
it's
the
it's
other
her
one.
sister. Yeah, so maybe get her to do her own, you know, thing, and I think she would also look so cool in all of those outfits. I'm real, you know, who would look the best in these outfits?
Right.
I think they could do it. I think they would look so awesome with the, you know, bringing back the hats and everything that they wore, the over the top fashion. I think that they would look so good.
I love that. I went with Zendaya specifically because I feel like, so Zendaya, when we see her on a red carpet, she always looks incredible. But when we see her in movies, I feel like she keeps playing that like not girly, you know, not like the other girls type of character. And so I want to see Zendaya get to play the like the girliest of girlies, you know. And I feel like
she would look so good in those
she would look
outfits.
so good for as Dion. But I also, so your vibe is more Crazy Rich Asians, and I went with a very queer vibe. And so my entire cast is queer. And I'm really excited about this because for Ty, I went with Barbie Ferreira.
Yes.
Specifically, specifically because I thought if Beanie's going to be my Cher, and the idea, if I remember the plot correctly, is at some point Ty becomes more popular, and people love her more. For a moment when she gets saved from the mall, wow, I feel like I just rewatched this and I haven't seen it in years. But because of that, I felt like it was important to have both of them be plus size actresses, because if one is and the other isn't, then it feels not
like
so
message.
good. Yeah.
I feel ya.
Who do you have for Ty?
I have where is my Ty? I have Geraldine Viswanathan.
Oh, yes.
From Blockers. I just feel like she has like a little bit of an edginess to her, and I feel like Ty was sort of like, you know, a little bit edgy. Like she would totally have gone with Travis the stoner guy, but then everyone's trying to like tell her not to. So I felt like she had an edginess to her, and so I was kind of going with that vibe for who I was going with for Ty versus like I guess the popularity thing. But I think she could be, you know, popular too.
Yeah. I love her in Blockers. She's so good.
And she has like a funny quality about her as well. Like she's very humorous. So I feel like that could be really fun, having Ty be this actress who's like humorous but a little bit edgy. And I think she could bring like a nice snark to the role of Ty.
Absolutely. I love that. So next let's talk about Josh.
Yes.
Because I realized I love Josh. So as I said, I made mine entirely queer. So instead of Josh, I named her Jess, and Jess would be Jacqueline Tabani, whom I know from Grimm, but most people probably know from the L Word Generation Q. And I think she would be a perfect Jess, because you could see her with Beanie Feldstein, or you could see her with Barbie. So who do you have for Josh?
For Josh, again, going with my, you know, Crazy Rich Asians route, I stayed with a guy. And so I was like, who is like hot and up and coming and doing all these cool things? And I went with Ross Butler.
Accurate.
I feel
very accurate.
Yeah, I feel like he is very attractive. He's also got a lot under his belt where like he can be a little bit more serious, but he can also be really funny. And I feel like Josh had that like boy next door kind of quality about him. Like he could be a little bit of a pain, you know, like he was her brother, so to speak, where he'd be like, you know, a little bit like annoying to her at times, but also then things change, and he's got to turn up that attractive quality. So
Yeah.
I think Ross Butler would be a good pick.
I feel like in my opinion, he's too pretty. Like he's too pretty to be Josh. Whereas like I think Jacqueline Tabani has the Josh was the grunge college kid. He was like into philosophy. And so I feel like Jacqueline Tabani can pull off that grunge look as well. All right, let's talk about Murray.
This was hard, I thought.
Yeah.
Do you really want someone that, I don't know, I feel like Murray was just like a goofball, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have anybody for Murray.
Oh, well, so for Murray, I went with Brandon Michael Smith. I just thought, he has a Disney background.
Yeah.
But now has gone on to do like some more, adult work. So I was like, I feel like there'd be like a little bit of a humor there that would be really fun for Murray. And so, yeah, that's why I went with him.
Ooh. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of someone and I can't remember his name, and now I feel terrible. So we're going to move on from Murray. Amber. Oh, Amber is such a good one. Who do you have for Amber?
Okay, for Amber, I went with Brenda Song, because I was just getting like, Amber is very over the top. She's obviously very rich and, very full of herself. And I was just getting London Tipton vibes in my Crazy Rich Asians arc. So I was like, London, why not just get the actual London Tipton to play, a slightly different version of that as Amber?
I totally see that. In my plus size queer version, I went with Shannon Purser.
Interesting.
I stuck with the Amber's a redhead, in my mind requirement. But so yeah, I think Shannon Purser always gets to play like the nice girl and the shy girl, the nice girl, the best friend. So I thought it'd be really fun to see her play the mean girl, because I don't think we've gotten to see that yet.
I have not. I don't think we've seen that yet. So that would be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Elton, which is such a fun character. Who do you have for Elton?
Well, Elton was a jerk, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of was going with someone that I thought could play a jerk well, which was Ray Nicholson, also known as Jack Nicholson's son. He was in Panic, and he was so good in Panic, playing like a character that seemed like he was going to be a jerk, but then actually had a heart of gold. So I feel like he could have that quality, but I think Elton overall is just a jerk. So I just thought I could see him doing that role justice.
Yeah, I love that.
What about you?
I went with mean girl of all mean girls, Dove Cameron. But Elton is Elle. I feel like it would be so perfect, because she would be the one who is really into the main girl, and then as soon as she doesn't get what she wants, kicks her out of her car. In front of Circus
she
Liquor.
Probably would have said I should be Cher, because she was Cher in Clueless the musical.
Right. I considered it, but I decided nope, I'm going a different direction. Yes. I think she'd be a good Elton, or Elle, as I named her. I renamed everybody.
Yes.
I felt like the character of Christian was a hard one, specifically in my revamp. And I don't think Christian is a necessary character in a 2021 version.
That's fair. That's fair. I did put a Christian.
Yeah.
I went with Garrett Clayton. I feel like he kind of has like a classic look to him, like a James Dean type of, classic dude, like classic man.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Garrett Clayton has that look as well. And I could just, when I look at him, I see him in this role. If they were to do a 2021 version with him.
Genuinely, I could see if somebody was like, oh yeah, Garrett Clayton played him in the original. I could see someone being like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, right. Right? He looks like he would make a good Christian. Like I could just see him coming in, being really cool, all the girls falling for him, and then he's like, nah.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, the beloved stoner boy, Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have for Travis?
Well, funny enough, I went with our first guest on Hollywood Approved, Benjamin Norris. I just feel like he's really good at playing like the stoner guy.
Yeah.
And he kind of brings that element even to his role as Trent in Never Have I Ever. And so I could just, like, to me, like, that's the first person I thought of that I was like, Travis, duh, he's right there. Like,
right.
Perfect choice. I think he would do really well. And Travis was like, he was like that stoner vibe, but also he was so likable. Like, he was like the best character in the whole movie.
Absolutely. He was so lovable.
What about you? Who'd you go with?
I gender swapped, and I went with, because I think this is such a good stretch for her. I went with Josie Tota as Tracy, because I feel like, at least recently, all of her roles have been very Cher-like. She's been the rich, popular, mean girl. And so I would love to see her be not that at all. And I think that she could do it so beautifully and bring a different flavor to Tracy or Travis. And I really love that idea, especially in this gender switch queer version that I've made, because in the end it would be Josie Tota with Barbie Ferreira, and I think that would be such a uniquely cool couple that you never see on TV.
That would be awesome. I love Josie Tota. She's so good in everything.
She's so good. And then, of course, we have our favorite teachers, Mr. Olivis Geist. And you and I went a very similar route with this one. Who did you put?
Yeah. I went with Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. Figured, comedy duo, SNL people. I just thought it would be a match made in heaven. What about you?
I also went SNL comedy duo match made in heaven with Anna Gasteyer and I forgot his name.
I kind of like this one better than mine. I kind of like this duo better. Yeah, I think that they would be really funny.
I think both of them would be good. I almost feel like Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler could be Cher's parents.
Oh yeah, that too.
He's such a good one. Well, that is our ridiculous fan casting.
All right, so are we ready to write these scripts for 2022 release date?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've both written very unique takes on how they should redo Clueless for 2021, 2022 for a modern audience. Let us know in the comments what you thought and who you would cast for these roles. But until next episode of Hollywood Approved, Kristen, where are you at on the internet and where can everyone keep up with you?
You can find me everywhere at Kaymaldo, Kaymaldo. That's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You add a 1 at the end. I'm on Instagram. And I also host a podcast called Pop Culture Planet that's all about diversity and representation and inclusion. So, yeah, I'd love to talk about those talk about these castings on, if these were actual real movies, these would be the movies I'd talk about on that podcast, because that's what we want to see more of, diversity and representation. Yeah. What about you?
I am everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That is YAELTYGIEL. I'm also the host of the official Leverage Redemption After Show, a very distinctive podcast on Electric Now. New episodes drop on Saturdays on demand and air on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Electric Now only. So watch the show on IMDb TV, then go to Electric Now to watch the after show. And I just wrote a review over on Fanversation for that movie, Sugar Daddy, on Amazon that I was talking about earlier. But mostly I'm here, so let us know what you thought in the comments, and we will see you next week. Bye everybody.